Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the Boise State Broncos and giving a quick preview for this team as we approach the spring and what they're going to look like as we head closer to the season. Now, obviously Boise had a miraculous run last year to the college football playoff. They had a very good regular season and they were led by their Heisman Trophy candidate Ashton Jeanty. Now, Ashton Jeanty is no longer there, but they have a lot of guys coming back. This is a team that didn't take a lot of transfers. They're relying on their development and their leader, Maddox Madsen, coming back at quarterback to lead the way. He's also throwing to a very good wide receiver core. Latrell Caples is back. He will be the leader of that room. You also have an offensive line that really doesn't have to replace that much, and they have a lot of very good players on the team still. Now at tight end, it's the same story. They have a lot of guys back. A lot of tight ends can play. I only have 2 on the depth chart right now, but they have a lot of guys who can do a lot of different things, block and run down the field and run routes pretty good. Now, who's going to replace Ashton Jeanty at running back? That's the biggest question. Obviously, you can't really replace Ashton Jeanty with one guy because he was one of the best running backs we've ever seen in college football. But what you can do is get the production from multiple guys. Right now, they have Sire Gaines, Jambers Dubar, Dylan Riley. They have a lot of guys that can play. Now, at this point in time, I don't know who RB1 is going to be, but it sounds like the staff, and it looks like the staff feels pretty good about what they have. They did not go after many running backs in the transfer portal, and there are a lot of good options. And you have to assume Boise could have went after a lot of guys in the transfer portal. They could have went after multiple running backs. They could have very well just pointed to Ashton Jeanty and the success that he had, but they decided not to. They're riding with the guys that they have. Now, flipping it over to defense, one projected starter that they did get from the transfer portal is Dion Washington, and he's from Hawaii. He's a big-time defensive lineman, and then they just got a lot of depth in the transfer portal, as you can see with the highlighted guys. A lot of guys in the secondary: Demetrius Freeney, Samuel Brooks, Jalen Webb, Sherrod Smith. A lot of these guys are from very small colleges, and they have multiple years left of eligibility, so you have to think this is just for depth and hoping to develop these guys into very good players after the starters, or projected starters, move on to the next level. Now, Marion McCoy is the leader of that secondary unit. He's going to be very good this year. Devon Banks as well. Andrew Simpson, Marco Notarini. I probably botched that last name. I apologize if I did. Yeah, Braxton Felly, Max Stage up front to go with Washington. Overall, this is a very good defensive line because you also have Jaden Virgin Morgan back. He's going to be the leader of the front 7. A very good edge rusher. He had 10 sacks and 15 tackles for loss last year. Leader of the team, and he is coming back and expecting to have another huge season. Looking at this roster, I think it's pretty fair to say they're in a really good spot, especially after what they lost. They did lose some key guys, obviously Jeanty, which we talked about, but the guys coming back, I think they have the chance or the opportunity to make another run at the playoff, and we're going to get into their schedule in a little bit. But with their defense, especially their front 7, I think they're going to be the better team, or just about as even as the other team in almost every game they play. I think you look at the schedule, we'll take a look at it right now. You see Notre Dame on there. Notre Dame is probably the only game on that list where Boise State will not be the most physical team. Now, obviously, UNLV is going to be a very tough game as well, and that's a game that's probably going to decide who goes to the conference championship game, and there's a chance they could play twice. Obviously, if the loser of the regular season is Nats their only loss, they meet again, and the winner is probably going to go to the playoff. But yeah, other than Notre Dame and UNLV, I think Boise is going to be favored by a pretty good amount, or at least one score in every other game. Now, back to that Notre Dame game. We saw Boise, they played Oregon in a very similar game. It was earlier in the season, but Boise only lost by 3 points to Oregon at Autzen Stadium. This time they have to go to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is going to have a new quarterback. Boise State, on the other hand, has a quarterback coming back and a very experienced offensive line, tight end room, and receiver room. So you have to think that's going to be a pretty good matchup. And Notre Dame's offense is struggling at the beginning of the season. Boise State, while they might not have the athletes to match Notre Dame, but you have to assume Notre Dame is going to be pretty good on offense, regardless if they can throw the ball or not with the new quarterback, because they do have Jeremiah Love, and they have receivers that can make plays after the catch. But Boise State has some dudes up front. We already talked about Jaden Virgin Morgan, right? 10 sacks, 15 tackles for loss. He didn't enter the transfer portal. He's still on the Boise State Broncos, and he's going to be one of the best players in college football again this year. So I think that's an early game to circle for this college football season. And that's going to be the biggest game for Boise State next year. Outside of that UNLV game, obviously an in-conference game, it's a pretty big deal. Now, Boise State fans or anybody, let me know down in the comments what you guys think of Boise headed into this season. Taking a look at this roster and the schedule, what do you think their record is going to be as we stand here in February? And before you guys head out, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And with that, I'll see you all in the next video.